focus on people that produce. So if you plan to live in prosperity, you are going to have to prepare. You're going to have prioritize. When you can influence people to follow you, when you can influence people to do exactly what you need them to do, and then stretch them out of their comfort zone to do something they never thought they could do, that's leadership. There is an order for you to be productive. Now, how many people use daily active to-do list? Do you guys want to wrap up your conversations? How was that? Was it interesting? Did you learn something about someone that you didn't know? I always wanted to come out to music. Live backwards to move forward. Sounds kind of crazy, right? But there are some things that if you do backward, it will move your life forward. Remember when you first started the first time you drove a car and how exciting it was? I've watched my mother forever, and in the passenger seat, I can do that. I got that. But the first time I got behind the car, not so easy. And one of the things that scared me the most was parallel parking. Did you guys do like me? Ride around till you found something you can drive straight into? That's what I did because it scared me to death. And going backwards, to back up, the first time I backed up, I was in the car, I'm excited, and I've watched my mother do this for a while, so I got this. And I started to back up, and I'm in the grass some kind of way. I didn't go out straight, but I was doing what I saw her do, and she was like, slow down, slow down. But backing up was one of the hardest things to do, which is probably why I didn't like parallel parking either, because you got to back up and don't hit the two cars in between, and that's always scary. But there are some things that we can learn by going backwards. And it's normally uncomfortable to go backwards. If you think about it, anything going backwards is normally not good. Dana just talked about our iPod. If we go backwards, we'll have an 8-track, and nobody wants that anymore. But think about things that you go backwards. If you go backwards spiritually, it's a loss of faith, and that just makes your life a little bit harder. If you go backwards financially, that's a loss of money. And we all want the money in here, right? No one wants to lose money. If you go backwards mentally, it's a loss of memory. It's called Alzheimer's today. But if you go back physically, well, that's a loss of pounds. I could go back at least 10. I'm okay with that backwards, but most of the time going backwards is not the best thing to do. Well, I want to talk about real quickly 3 things that you can do when you back up out of your driveway, 3 things that you do backing up out of your driveway that will help you move forward in your life. So when you get in the car, you put the seatbelt on, and you get the ignition started. What is the first thing you do to back up? You got to shift the gears. You got to put it in reverse. And you have to think about your life. What is it that you need to shift gears in your life? And we all have some things that we need to change in our lives. Right now, this world is so caught up on money. There are reality shows that most of the people in the shows, it's about money for them. And then they get on the show and make it about money for you. But if you shift gears from money to meaning, money comes. When you focus on making meaning in your life, when you focus on what you do, the work that you do that is meaningful to you because it's helping others, it changes everything. But that's going backwards. The second thing you do, after you shift gears, what do? You got to make sure that the coast is clear. You have to turn around. You have to turn around to make sure you don't want to hit anything. So sometimes in life, we have to turn around. We have to turn around our thoughts. We have to turn around our beliefs, because you do know that your experience create a belief, that belief will create a thought, and that thought will create an action. What actions are happening in your life because of the experience? You can turn the experience around because you make a story up of whatever happened to you. There's a story that you tell yourself about that story. There are some things that could happen in your life that's traumatic. And if you tell yourself the story that I'm not good enough because this happened to me, there's a different outcome. But if you tell yourself a story that says, what happened to me is to make me better, and I got to figure out how to move forward to help other people, that's a different story, and that's a different outcome for your life. The first speaker that spoke, that's a different outcome because of how she has turned her belief into something that will move her life forward. So when you get in the car and you have to look backwards, sometimes turn around and figure out what you need to do differently. Those negative things that you say, turn those into positive things. And you don't have to believe it the first time you say it. You just have to say it. And you say it enough times to where you will start to believe that about yourself. Well, once you get in, you put the car in reverse, you turn around, what do? Oh, y'all don't drive here. Nobody drives here. You have to take your foot off the brake and hit the accelerator. Now I feel like I'm at church now. That deserves a shout right there. You have to take your foot off the brake. And how many people have their foot on the brake of a business opportunity, their foot on the brake of growing a business exponentially that you can't even think of, but you got your foot on the brake because fear is stopping you. The lack of not knowing, the lack of knowledge will stop us, but it's a lack because all you have to do is seek it. So we put our foot on the brake, and it stops us from so many things. But if you just take it off and you hit the accelerator of making meaning out of what you do, you focus on values and not just volumes. You focus on purpose. What is the difference that you are to make in this life? Because we're all here for more than what you think you are. You're here to make a difference in life. What is that purpose? See, one of the things that is my brand stand, which is what I call it, and we're going to talk about it in our mastermind today. And it's the first thing I do with every coaching client that I have. We have to start here because we can never get to the other part unless we start here. Meaning over money, values over volume, and purpose over profits. That's backwards. Meaning over money, values over volume, and purpose over profits. If you do the first part, all of the latter will come. So when we talk, that's where we start, because once we get to that core, everything else opens up and the business begins to grow. But so many businesses are about how to get the next dollar. How can you serve? How can you help? How can you use the skill, the gift, and the ability that you have to change your life, to make someone better? How do you do that better? When you focus on that, you don't have to worry about trying to figure out where am I going to get the next client from, because it will start to come to you. That's what we're going to talk about in our mastermind. I've worked in corporate America for 20 years, and I worked for a company. 15 of those years I worked with one company, and I left that organization to start my own business. Now, I was a cheerleader for the company. You couldn't tell me nothing. I wore my pom-poms and my short skirt to work every day. Loved the organization because the organization fed something in me. And it was the gift to serve and to give others. I loved coaching. And I realized that in working in that business, I could do that consistently. But then we changed our CEO. He had a different focus. And he said, that there was two things that was important to the company, and it was sales and it was profit, and that was it. But the company, the CEO prior, made people a focus. And that is what drove me. Well, after I heard that statement, 30 days later, I gave my 2 weeks notice because my values were I help people. And the company was going in a direction that I chose not to go. So I chose to apply my values and not deny them to do something that was going to be bigger and far greater than what I was doing for them. Well, I now take what I did and help, I worked in retail forever, helped make $1 million company, the largest optical retailer in the world. What I did to help them make money, I now do for small businesses and nonprofits. Because the purpose that it serves in me is what continues to move me forward. There are some things that you can do backwards that will move you forward, and it's only backwards to the society that we live in. But if you make it your foundations and your principles, I guarantee you, you will move forward. I'm Becky Davis. Thank you for listening.